Few actors have plumbed the depths of the human psyche with the intensity of Anthony Hopkins. At 87, the Welsh virtuoso behind Hannibal Lecter and countless other indelible characters continues to captivate, not just with his silver screen prowess but with his unflinching candor about life's darker corridors. In a recent podcast appearance, Hopkins revisited the pivotal Blackout moment that shattered his illusions and ignited a half-century of sobriety, a tale of recklessness redeemed by an inner voice that still echoes like a divine directive. This isn't mere memoir, it's a masterclass in resilience, a reminder that even titans falter, and from those falls, profound transformations arise. The episode unfolded on a crisp autumn evening in 1975, though the exact date, December 29th, remains etched in Hopkins's memory like a scar-turned-talisman. Hollywood's allure had ensnared him fully by then. The young actor, fresh from London stages and early film forays, was navigating Tinseltown's temptations with abandon. Alcohol, that seductive muse for so many creatives, had become his constant companion, blurring the lines between inspiration and oblivion. On this fateful night, Hopkins found himself behind the wheel of his car, barreling through California's twilight highways in a haze of inebriation. "I was drunk and driving my car here in California in a blackout," he recounted, his voice steady yet laced with the gravity of hindsight. The world dissolved into a fog. No landmarks, no destination, just the mechanical hum of tires on asphalt. In that void, peril loomed. A swerve too sharp, a pedestrian unseen, and catastrophe could claim innocence or himself. No clue where I was going when I realized that I could have killed somebody, or myself, which I didn't care about, he admitted, and I realized that I was an alcoholic. That epiphany wasn't a gradual dawn but a thunderclap, slicing through the numbness with surgical precision. Pulled over by some unspoken force, perhaps providence, perhaps the last vestiges of self-preservation, Hopkins confronted the abyss. Self-destruction? Acceptable in his fogged mind. Collateral harm? Unthinkable. The weight of potential tragedy crystallized his denial into determination. Stumbling into a Beverly Hills party, disheveled and desperate, he cornered an ex-agent amid the chink of glasses and murmur of small talk. "I need help," he pleaded, glancing at his watch, precisely 11 p.m. The admission hung in the air, raw and revolutionary, a surrender not to weakness but to the necessity of change. What followed defies rational explanation, veering into the realm of the mystical that Hopkins, a self-professed skeptic-turned-seeker, navigates with wry humility. As he stood there, vulnerable amid the revelry, an internal voice emerged, not his own but authoritative, resonant, like a radio voice broadcasting from some deeper frequency. Male, reasonable, unyielding, "It's all over. Now you can start living. And it has all been for a purpose, so don't forget one moment of it." The words weren't auditory hallucinations but a profound intuition, stripping away the alcoholic's craving in an instant. The spooky part, Hopkins called it, a shiver of the supernatural that left him transformed. The compulsion to drink, that insidious tyrant, simply evaporated. In its place bloomed clarity, a second chance wrapped in purpose. Sobriety, for Hopkins, wasn't a straight path but a labyrinth of trials and triumphs. Joining Alcoholics Anonymous that very night marked the threshold, but the early days were a gauntlet of withdrawals, doubts, and the siren call of old haunts. He leaned on mentors, recited the Serenity Prayer like a mantra, and channeled unrest into his craft. Roles in films like The Elephant Man and later masterpieces demanded the same discipline he'd forged in recovery: precision, presence, the ability to inhabit chaos without being consumed. By the 1990s, his portrayal of the erudite cannibal in The Silence of the Lambs catapulted him to icon status, earning an Oscar and etching his name in cinematic lore. Yet, Hopkins credits sobriety as the true award. "It has all been for a purpose," that voice had promised, and indeed his post-1975 oeuvre brims with roles exploring redemption, from the poignant Howard's End to the introspective The Father, for which he won a second Academy Award. Marking anniversaries has become a ritual for Hopkins, a public affirmation amid private reflections. In social media posts he shares glimpses of this journey, framing that mid-70s night as a wake-up call. One video viewed millions of times captures him in contemplative mode. "I have my off days, sometimes little bits of doubt," he confesses, his eyes twinkling with hard-won wisdom, "but all in all, I say hang in there. Today is the tomorrow you were so worried about yesterday." These words, delivered with the gravitas of experience, resonate beyond recovery circles, offering solace to anyone grappling with addiction's grip. Hopkins demystifies the process, No magic elixirs, just relentless choice. He speaks of the deep powerful thought, as a universal spark, accessible to all who listen amid the noise. His story intersects with broader conversations on alcoholism in Hollywood, a shadow that has felled legends from Richard Burton to Carrie Fisher. Hopkins, Burton's compatriot, once orbited similar orbits of excess but diverged at the crossroads. Today, as mental health advocacy surges, his testimony underscores the power of vulnerability. No longer the aloof genius, he's a beacon for the broken, illustrating how rock bottom can be the firmest foundation. In interviews, he muses on aging and sobriety, the clarity that sharpens memory, the gratitude that tempers ego. Living, he says, echoing that inner voice, starts when the excuses stop. For aspiring artists and everyday warriors alike, Hopkins's Blackout to Breakthrough arc is a blueprint. It affirms that purpose lurks in pain, that voices within can guide us home. As he prepares for future roles, whispers of a King Lear revival swirl, his legacy extends beyond reels. A life reclaimed, a light for the lost. In sharing this chapter, Hopkins doesn't just recount. He redeems, proving that from one midnight swerve, a lifetime of straight lines can emerge.